Welcome to The Voice America. Today we'll be discussing on how Donald Trump refused to simply accept defeat. But before we continue, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to always get updated on our latest video. Let's begin. On November 7, 1962, Nixon met with reporters to concede that he had lost his bid for governor of California and to grumble about the way the press covered his campaign. It had been 2 years since he had lost his race for president against John F. Kennedy, and few thought Nixon would ever run office again. "Just think what proportion you are going to be missing," the defeated Republican said. "You do not have Nixon to kick around anymore because, gentlemen, this is often my last news conference, and it'll be wondering which I even have welcomed the chance to check wits with you." It clothed to be far away from the last news conference for Nixon, who won the presidency in 1968 and in 1972. But its petulant tone made political history. When Larry Elder conceded defeat in the week in his bid to unseat California Governor Gavin Newsom, he sounded a special note than Nixon. "Let's be gracious in defeat," the chat show host said. Still, a minimum of he and Nixon admitted they were beaten, something former President Donald Trump could never bring himself to try to after the 2020 election. Elder's post-election concession clashed together with his earlier embrace of Trump's big lie strategy, the notion of massive fraud which the previous president has been promoting ever since he lost to Joe Biden. The conservative ecosystem that backed Elder's run didn't seem to be simply trying to find him to win, albeit the uniquely arcane mechanisms of California's recall politics made it briefly seem as if which may be possible, wrote Jeff Yang. The true goal of Elder's Republican backers seemed to be for him to a minimum of lose by a margin that might allow them to contest the leads in order to say the Democrats had once more engaged in magical manipulation of ballots, voting machines or the brains of voters themselves, thus making the election seem null and void and expanding already widespread doubt and paranoia about the character of our democracy. That corrosive approach to politics seems bound to survive Elder's crushing defeat. Republicans are not any longer running against Democrats. They're running against democracy, Yang concluded. Trump's refusal to concede set the stage for the events of Epiphany, an incontrovertible fact that apparently wasn't lost on former President George W. Bush, who last weekend drew a parallel between the Capitol rioters and therefore the 9/11 attackers. The 9/11 terrorists and therefore the Epiphany attackers do share an equivalent foul spirit, Dean Abdallah wrote, quoting Bush. But Abdallah added that one glaring difference is that the al-Qaeda attackers were incited and directed by Osama bin Laden, while the Epiphany attackers were incited by an American president, Donald Trump. It had been Trump who for the 2 months after the election radicalized people with a tsunami of lies, claiming that the election was stolen. California's election results, with Newsom decisively quashing the recall, may have national implications for the 2022 midterms, wrote Lincoln Mitchell. The recall was a referendum on Newsom, but indirectly on Biden, and therefore the Democrats also. The numbers show that it wasn't close, which Californians, including the white women whose support is so crucial to the GOP's future within the state, weren't buying regardless of the GOP and Elder were selling, Mitchell noted. Who knows what would happen if the GOP were in the least curious about trying out good candidates with views that appeal to a wider range of voters, rather than merely identifying the Trumpiest candidate on the menu and letting them run riot, asked S.E. Cupp. But thus far, in most cases, the GOP isn't interested. It is, in fact, systematically purging those very people from its party. When it involves 2024, the GOP doesn't appear to be considering running anyone aside from Trump. I'm wondering how long and the way many failed elections it'll take Republicans to understand that they're shrinking the voter base this manner. It's going to please the previous president, Frida Gaitis observed, but it's bad news for America. The example set by Trump disparaging, assaulting and undercutting a country's democracy has now become the template for political players with authoritarian leanings round the globe. That's right. Please do not forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to always get updated on our latest